What's going on, YouTube? You tapped in with your boy Big O, watching another episode of UTV, the TV you can feel and see. And just as promised, I'm gonna keep y'all up to date with the FBG Duck slash Oblock 5 murder case files as they come, when they come. We just got some new paperwork here on a Sunday at 9:20 a.m. this morning, and I'm bringing it to y'all here today. Y'all ain't gonna find this paperwork no other place on YouTube, only here on my channel. And if you look around on YouTube, nobody else has posted this paperwork just yet. So just as promised, like I told y'all before, I'm going to keep y'all in the loop, on time, all the time. Now, today's paperwork, huge filings, y'all. They got pictures of Duck holding his son, all type of pictures of Duck that y'all never seen before. They done put pictures of KI in this paperwork, y'all. This one is a deep one, and it's a lot of paperwork. So with that being said, man, stick with me through the whole script. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It really do help the channel grow. In fact, it forces YouTube into recommending our video to new users. So people will see the real paperwork and not none of that fake stuff, y'all. So if you rocking with the campaign, go ahead, leave a like on the video. If you want to push the envelope even farther, leave a comment. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Why? Because I'm going to keep you in the loop, on time, all the time. So let's check it out. I already got it queued up. First things first is we going to read the motion or we going to read the paperwork. We're going to read the motion because the motion got a lot to do with Duck in it. Now it says, as y'all can see, got the names and all that. Don't forget to smash that like button. Now comes to the defendant, Kenneth Roberson, by his counsel on behalf of himself and joined by others seeking the probate in introduction of specific photographs. Sorry about that. In the government's latest trench exhibits, initially they seek to restrict the government from introducing photos that portray the defendant's witnesses and victims in a way to provoke jury sympathy, invoke anger, or otherwise overly prejudicial. There are also some general objections in support. Roberson states the following: the government has submitted hundreds of photos in the 500 series of photos. The 500 series, according to the government, seeks to establish identification. Including within the series are the following photos which Mr. Roberson objects to. 501, a family photo of the descendant Weekly as a child together with his mother and brother and sisters. Mr. Weekly is leaning on his mother's shoulder according to the government's exhibit list. The photo is relevant for background and identification of Weekly. The photo is irrelevant and prejudicial. Weekly's family background, other than the fact that he may have been a rapper from STL or FBG gang, is entirely irrelevant. Information regarding a victim's childhood history does not shed any light on whether the defendant committed a particular crime, which is the issue before the juries here. Simply, Carlton Weekly's identity is not an issue, and even if it were, a photo of him as a child sheds no light on his identity. The government also seeks to introduce Exhibit 500/3, which is a more current driver's license photo of Weekly from which he can be identified. A current driver's license photo is more prohibitive of his identity on August 4th, 2020 than one taken 20 years earlier. This is a photo of Weekly holding a small child posing with a woman and a person costumed as a cartoon character. The government represents this photo as irrelevant for the identification of Weekly for the reasons stated in the paragraph A above. The photo is admissible. 508 and 509, these are mug shots of Roberson. The first is taken against a cinder block wall at the Chicago police station, and the second is in a jail uniform at the Cook County Jail. The government indicates that the photos are for the identification of Roberson beyond the prejudicial and custody photos. of Roberson. The government also seeks to introduce Exhibit 507, Mr. Roberson's recent driver's license photo. The driver license photo established identity in a sufficient manner and does not introduce the unfairly prejudicial interference that Mr. Roberson is in custody. There are post-arrest photos showing Liggins wearing a black hoodie and depicting a complete body profile showing handcuffs. This is a photo of Liggins' tattoo. To the extent it depicts an Oblock tattoo, there is no objection, but the tattoo that states Glory Boy should be redacted. This appears to be a grammar school or high school photo that is irrelevant. 520, 521, 523. These are post-arrest and custody photos of Thomas wearing a orange/pink sweatshirt, tattoos that say Venus, that is his mother, blessed, and the family first are all irrelevant and prejudicial. Finally, the government seeks to introduce an 8th grade graduation photo of Gakirah Barnes, the sister of government witness Rakeem Wilton. They just put BUTTA bitch ass name in there, y'all. BUTTA, where you at, nigga? Where you at? All that, it ain't me, nigga. Yo, Rakeem Wilton. Shashing. And I was, okay, we got BUTTA name, y'all. Rakeem Wilton. Let me blow that up. Rakeem Wilton. Rakeem Wiggity what? Wilton. If y'all don't know who Rakeem Wilton is, that's BUTTA, y'all. He is the government's witness. All that BUTTA was lying. I knew BUTTA was lying, though. I'm the one that told y'all BUTTA was lying. Come on, man. BUTTA is a, let's say it again, government's witness, y'all. Rakeem, oh my God, BUTTA. Oh my God. I'm gonna see if I can get an interview with BUTTA. But the life and death, the sister of the government's witness, Rakeem Wilton, as Exhibit 574, the life and death. That's why I was telling y'all, after these people speak, the first witness is going to speak is going to be BUTTA, because BUTTA testimony and statements lay down the whole history of the war between Oblock and STL, because BUTTA went to talk about how KI smoked OD and how Von Noon retaliated and got KI. Let's get to it, though. The life and death. She was shot and killed by someone in 2024 when she was 17 is not relevant to this case. And even if Gakirah Barnes' life and death were relevant to the instant matter, an 8th grade graduation photo taken some years prior to her death is not the proper vehicle for identification. Equally, it misrepresents her life. The photo is taken from a newspaper article at the time of her death, a copy of which is attached. We gonna see that as well. I already got it queued right here, y'all. Boom, there's some deep shit, and I didn't even know BUTTA name was in it, because I just skimmed over it. But, and even if Gakirah, so we said that equally represents her life, the photo taken, newspaper article at the time of her death, a copy which is attached. Gakirah Barnes, a self-described hitter or assassin, was an adult at the time of her shooting, not a child of 13. No party is disputing who a witness says they are, so it's difficult to understand why these identification photos are at all relevant. Further, a photo taken of someone years prior to any remotely relevant time is not prohibitive of any use. There appears to be a dearth of the case in the 7th Circuit on admission of the family photos and murder cases. However, looking to state of Illinois, specifically People vs. Hope, that's just a stature. While it is true that common sense tells us that murder victims do not live in a vacuum, and that in most cases they live behind family members, where the evidence has no relevance to the defendant's guilt or innocence, the introduction of this evidence is improper, where the evidence of the descendants and witness families' histories have no relevance and will not help the jurors in determining the undisputed identity of anyone. It is transparent attempt to reinforce through a visual aid the fact that the deceased left behind family and siblings and that witness have family members. As for the mugshot and other in custody photos. They are simply not relevant. Taylor motion seeks to bar defendant's use of his mugshot photo or other photos taken by CPD evidence technicians. Defendants respond that during the deposition of Joseph Wilborn, he identified Taylor from a mugshot, but there would seem to be no reason to challenge his identification of Taylor, whom he testified he had seen around the neighborhood. Hence, the use of mugshot, which of course proposed problems under that stature. It does not appear these photos were used to assist with other witness identifications. The government has submitted hundreds of photos. There are 200 photos from the crime scene, hundreds of vehicles being searched, and other matters. Just because the government obtains a photo does not mean that the photo decepts is relevant or that it does not indefinitely generate prejudicial. Likewise, just because the government wants to submit redundant photos does not give them the right to do so. The government need not spend days. The government need not spend days on end proving uncontested matters, and this court should not restrict the presentation of evidence accordingly. Herefore, that's Roberson. So whatever Roberson get past, all the others adopt. But again, though, y'all just seen BUTTA's name in the paperwork. Trench's News name is coming out next. Like I told y'all, when we first seen the paperwork with RW, I put it out there. I was the first one to report that, y'all, that it was BUTTA. Everybody was saying I was lying. That ain't BUTTA. Woot out the wham. I even got on the FaceTime with BUTTA, and he tried to say that ain't him. Nigga, they got your whole name in there. Now y'all know who comes behind BUTTA. Trench's News and Cooperator 2 name is going to be put out there completely right after BUTTA because it has to come out in chronological order. BUTTA is going to lay down the history. Trench's News and Cooperator 2 is going to lay down the inner workings of Oblock, letting the jury know that this is an enterprise and they are engaged in racketeering activity. And CPD evidence and all that they gather going to come up and clean up the murder that they did on Duck. But the biggest evidence is Cooperator 2 and Trench's News because they is pitting the RICO. Trench's News and Cooperator 2 talking is going to get niggas locked up like BJ, Boss Top. These is niggas that they said was the leaders of Oblock. So a superseding indictment, in case y'all don't know, that's what this is real quick. Let me show y'all what the superseding indictment is real quick. Superseding indictment. In case y'all don't know what a superseding indictment means, it's a documented means replace the original indictment listing the formal charges against a defendant. A grand jury typically approves the superseding indictment after additional information or evidence have been obtained, and the new document usually adds charges or defendants to the case. So this superseding indictment, once Trench's News speak across the docket, they might go lock up Boss Top, especially if they do go with the RICO. And if they do slam Oblock with the RICO, they going to pick up Boss Top and BJ for sure, just off the simple fact that Cooperator 2 and Trench's News said Boss Top was the leader and BJ was the leader. King Von, Muwop, and somebody else. But that somebody else ain't here no more. Now, with that being said, y'all, here go the other paperwork with Gakirah. She called herself a hitter. A 17-year-old female assassin operated on the South Side. Okay, long before Gakirah Barnes was murdered in a hail of bullets on the South Side, her mother had heard her 17-year-old daughter, the same 5'3", 128-pound girl, once seen as a shy at school, was known for something almost unheard of on the streets of Chicago. There was a teenage girls who are accomplices in gang murders. There are girls who hide gang guns for their boyfriends. But Barnes was believed to be a hitter, a female assassin for the fraction of gangster disciples, law enforcement says. Barnes, who kept a stack of newspaper stories about her friends slain in the street violence, was a suspect in 3 to 5 shootings, including at least one murder, which was the OD. Talk on the Street put the number of shootings much higher, at least 15. Her death in April did nothing to quell the talk about her as the internet buzzed about Barnes' alleged involvement in gun violence. In an interview with the Chicago Sun-Times, her mother, Chantel Brown, simply couldn't say whether her daughter was a shooter or not. Brown acknowledged her daughter was charged with firing a gun when she was 14, but no one was shot, and the case was dismissed when the witness recanted, she said. Brown said she seen the homemade rap music videos of her daughter wearing a bandana over her face and waving a handgun, but she never saw a gun in their home. She doesn't know if the video was bravoed or something more. I can't say if she killed someone or not, Brown said. I was not there. I don't know. I heard rumors and gossip come to me. I haven't talked to my daughter and asked her, and my daughter said no. I have talked to my daughter and asked her, and my daughter said no. Those who knew Barnes more than 3 years ago when she was a student at ITT Math and Science Academy said her murder and talk that she was a gang shooter shocked them. There go Gakirah, y'all. That's the picture. 8th grade graduation. It's crazy, ain't it? Barnes was in the 8th grade when she entered the Southside Charter School in fall of 2010. In her first month, she was suspended for being disrespectful, Assistant Principal Tiffany Harston said, but that was the end of it. She didn't get into fights at school. When math class frustrated her, she'd leave, but only to look for help. I told her our goal was that she would receive quality education and go to college, Harston said. Barnes was shy, even timid, Harston recalled. As the years progressed, though Barnes became less guarded. By the end of 8th grade, she had a few friends and was smiling more, Harston said. When Barnes returned for her freshman year, her attendance became spotty. Eventually, she dropped out after she landed in juvenile justice system. Harston says she didn't hear anything more about Barnes until she was killed. She was applauded to read the story on the internet news site, The Daily Beast. The report on her alleged role as a shooter. Typically, kids that live that kind of life, they were very confrontational. Gakirah was not that child, she said. In 2011, Barnes was charged with discharging a firearm. Although no gun was recovered, her mother said Barnes was ordered to attend the alternative school in Cook County Juvenile Detention Center while the case against her progressed. The judge wanted to keep her off the street for her own protection, Brown said. Barnes was found not guilty after witnesses who picked her out of a lineup changed their stories, her mother said. Barnes continued to attend classes periodically at another alternative school on the far south side, but she was spending more time on the street and less time in class, her mother said. She was a very smart child and very articulate, but she was not getting into it, she said. On the street, Gakirah Barnes was called K.I., an abbreviation of her first name. In the weeks leading up to her death, she was also known as Lil Snoop for the female shooter of the TV crime drama, The Wire. Her mother acknowledged police suspect. She became embroidered in the tit-for-tat violence between her fraction for gangster disciples and their rivals with the 20 block area of 63rd and Martin Luther King Drive, which is, they talking about 60, man, 600 in Woodlawn neighborhood. One high-level police officer said Barnes was suspected in three to five shootings, at least one, which was a murder. Police received information that a female gunman was involved in these shootings, and Barnes matched the description, the officer said. But Barnes was never charged with those shootings because no witness was willing to identify her. Police have no physical evidence linking her to the crimes, the officer said. She bragged about being a shooter. One police source said everyone was afraid of her. She acted with such swagger that she was sometimes mistaken for a boy. Barnes' bravado, I don't know what that is, was on display on Twitter, where she often blasted her enemies. When a Chicago police officer shot one of her friends to death after he allegedly pointed a gun at the officer. They talking about my mans. R.I.P. R.I.P. man. But y'all know who they talking about. And he was giving them niggas hell too, boy. Okay. When police kick foot chase, Barnes said police warning. The police, I kill you faster than niggas on the corner, she wrote. For days, Barnes posted messages about the shootings near 62nd and Rhodes. It's a cold, cold world. Barnes laminated. She was also worried about people gunning for her. I got niggas trying to off me, put me in a coffin. She said on Twitter she was right. But no, though, man. Yeah, they talking about when Lil B died, man. On April 11th, a hooded gunman shot Barnes 7 times in front of the home in the 64th block of South Eberhard. The young man who was wounded, but investigators are certain Barnes was the target. Seems even her own gang, wanted her gone because she was such a lightning rod. 2 young men were wounded, but investigators were certain Barnes was the target. Seems even her own gang wanted her gone because she was such a lightning rod, police said. No one's in custody for her murder. Like, girls like Barnes have become more deeply involved in gangs over the past decade and more willing to participate in violence, but usually with their fists and feet. A number of reports show that the increase of females in delinquent behavior as opposed to boys whose delinquency has plateaued. They just talking about the background. Girls pulling triggers. They talking about girls shooting in the back in the day, man. Just some old stuff. But here goes some more about the crime. They go for playing like Barbie dolls. Barnes hung out with fellow gang members in the area called Tukaville in honor of 15-year-old Shondell Tuka Gregory, who was shot in the death in January 2011 while waiting for the bus. R.I.P. Tuka. Later that year, on Tuka Day, nigga, OD got right. They got OD together. OD Perry was shot and killed in retaliation to Gregory's murder. On theories is that Barnes, then 14, was Perry's killer, police say. Now the proffer, y'all, that BUTTA gave the proffer that BUTTA gave the Santiago proffer, bro, that BUTTA gave the police in the situation with Gakirah killing OD, that proffer, because BUTTA was with K.I. So BUTTA can't speak on this shit because he'd get his ass Keefy D. BUTTA was with K.I. when that happened. So BUTTA is an accomplice to that murder. So the proffer that he gave the police in this whole situation was he give up that and they can't prosecute him. But BUTTA can't speak on that situation, yeah, because they can come back and lock him up for it. But in 2012, one of Barnes' friends, 13-year-old Taekwon, died and was killed while leaving the party. Barnes dedicated herself avenging Tyler and began calling herself the Taekwon Assassin. Andrew Holmes, a community activist, found Stop Killing with the Youth, heard about Barnes for years. She did not become a victim of the streets, but she dished out a lot of things, he said. As a part of Holmes' duties, he visited the families of murdered victims. Several times, families have said that they suspected Barnes in the killings of their loved ones. Many people I talked to said she was the getaway driver in the cars that was discharging weapons out the window, he said, and sometimes she was the shooter herself. Holmes said he saw a photo of Barnes wearing a t-shirt with the letters CPK, meaning Chicago Police Killer. She called herself a hitter. He said the lessons for parents is simple, Holmes said. If your child is out here on the street, grab them by the neck, pull them in the house because you will lose them, he said. But Brown said she don't think she lost control of her daughter. When she was in my home, I was in control. I think when she was in the street, she became another person, she said. Barnes needed to project a tough image on the street, her mother said. I guess she felt I can't be the good girl my mom wants me to be. I have to be a badass. On a cold day in February, the police made an effort at saving Barnes from the violence of the street. Dixon visited the male gang member and delivery of the custom notification. Hold on. District Glenn Evans and Director of Community Safe Incentives for the city were on their way to visit a male gang member to deliver a custom notification. They were going to give the gang member a message to stay away from guns or go to prison. Evans and Matilda were also going to offer him a way to find a job. They spotted Barnes in an alley on 63rd near King Drive. The girl was in the wrong place on the border of the enemy's Black Descendant territory and risked getting killed. Stepped out the car and offered her help, but she politely refused and walked away, according to the police. Less than 2 months later, she was dead. So basically, y'all, that's the paperwork. Like I told y'all, man, I'm going to be hitting y'all with this as it come, when it come. That's the newest paperwork, October 29th. Y'all see BUTTA name is in that bad boy. Again, let me go to it. Pull that one up. He was on the 6-page one. BUTTA name is in the paperwork. Next, they're going to be saying Martell Wiley completely. But they got BUTTA name completely. No initial, straight Rakeem Wilton. So, BUTTA, if you're looking at this, you are considered a government witness. And about that proffer you told him, nigga, I know it all. How I know all this? Just ask yourself, how do I know all this, BUTTA? It's common sense, man. It don't take rocket scientists to know. It don't take a rocket scientist to know this shit, man. But again, though, man, if y'all rocking with the campaign, tap in. Like I said before, this trial isn't going to be televised like Melly's. So the only way y'all gonna get any of the information is the paperwork, and I'm dropping this paperwork as it come. I'm gonna keep y'all in the loop, on time, every time, and I'm gone.